Simmo, we just wanted to... Harley Reid is the centre of a lot of debate and attention at the moment. And the way that he's playing his footy, from how he presented right at the start, which you were hands-on with, to where he is now in the grip of, I don't know whether it's frustration or precisely what do you see when you look at him, knowing him as a person as well as a player?
Gerard, I am the wrong person to ask because I'm going to have rose-coloured glasses for the rest of my life with Harley, and he can get rubbed out for 12 weeks, and because I can say what I want, I'm just going to back him in. So I'm not really interested in the rhetoric around his form or what he's done, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I know the kid and I know what he's working through, I know where he's going to go, and I've just got nothing but empathy. So maybe Horse is a better person to ask for advice because I'll just back him in no matter what, and I know that's what McCalder's doing. I know the criticism's a little bit around, they should be teaching him a lesson. It looked to me on game day, he came off at the 5-minute mark in the first quarter and he got on the phone and obviously would have had a chat that we've had a million times before. So don't underestimate what happens behind closed doors and don't judge him too early is probably the only thing I'm going to say.
Well, I look at maybe Toby Green, early days, he might have been pushing the boundaries at different things and suspensions or whatever it was, but a bit of maturity. I keep on saying it about these guys. Give me the competitors, mate.
Well, it's interesting. There's two types of prodigies, isn't there? There's the Nick Dacos, ready to go, Bontempelli, those guys just come in, they're full-on professional, barely need to do any coaching. And then there's the rough diamonds, which, no disrespect, but Buddy and Dusty and DeGoey, and I'm assuming Harley is in, well, I know, he's not in the perfect player just yet, but he could be anything in the future, and it just needs a bit of polish, that's all. So I'm willing to be patient.
Your task today is that we're at a tipping point. There's 6 weeks to go. There are the teams who are in the mad scramble to make it. There are those who are solidifying themselves at the top. There's those in the grip of mathematical possibility, which is the last refuge of the desperate. And then there are those who are done. John, you've set up for us the continuum, the finals continuum for our comp right now.
Yeah, Gerard. I guess it's, for the teams that are just outside the 8, or particularly the teams that are really no chance of making the 8, where are they really at? I mean, those discussions will be happening behind closed doors in the clubs amongst the key people, and I sort of broke it up into where are we at as a team? You know, is it blow it up stage? Is it sort of rebuilding? Is it still rebuilding, or are we a genuine, top 4 contender? And along those discussions you've got to be really honest with where your list is at and understanding exactly where you're at. Because if you pull the wrong rein going into trade period, for instance, or in a recruiting sense, it can actually set you back a fair bit. And Simmo was having a bit of a look at some of the teams, and where are they? Where are some of these teams sitting at the moment?
Probably a few teams that we wouldn't know from the outside. Like you probably think about Melbourne, Port Adelaide, and Carlton. They're the 3 sides, I suppose, from the outside. Where are they really at? Are they blow the joint up? Are they rebuild? Are they just reset with injuries? So they're the 3 clubs that, without being critical at all, it's just what is the next step for them?
Yeah, and it gives them an opportunity to have internal discussions, not listen to the outside discussions, listen to the internal people and make a really sound decision about where you need to go to from here.
So you want to make the right decision, and then, blow it up feels drastic, but is there a circumstance in which you can choreograph the blowing up rather perfectly and get it right quickly?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are cases that blow it up doesn't mean blow the whole football department up. It can, or make the biggest changes. It can be just parts of the club that you know that you need to get right. And there's experienced football people in every club that are having those discussions and sitting down and talking about it where they are. I mean, in 2020, for instance, we only won 5 games for the season, but we got through the season really strongly. It was the first year of COVID. So it wasn't a case of blowing everything up, but it was a case of resetting, sticking to the process that we'd set a couple of years ago as far as playing younger players and keep on rebuilding. And we got a really good quick spike the next year and made the finals.
All right, so the teams that are in the phase of desperately chasing and trying to kindle some sort of hope, which does bring to mind the scene from Dumb and Dumber.
You mean not good like 1 out of 100?
I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
John, so you've lived you're telling me there's a chance.
Absolutely, Gerard. I've lived it, and so has Simmo. We were just talking about it before we come on air. He's got an example of when I cost him, but you know, we started the season 0-6 in 2017, and we had to go on an enormous run to get there. In 2023, we were at the same boat. We're about, you know, we're 14th at one stage at the back end of the year. And to talk about, you know, to motivate your players and trying to get them to live in the land of hope to get to the end of the season, how you pull those reins in a motivational sense. In 23, was talking to the younger players, a few of the fire starters, getting them really excited and doing something that maybe not many other teams have been able to do from that position. So every team's got an opportunity to be able to set something unique. And in 14, Simmo, we ended up making some decisions that weren't too happy about.
No, in 14, it was my first year in 14, and everything had to go right. It was literally telling me there's a chance, and we were 6 rounds to go. It was probably this round back then, and we did top 6 and 6. So we said to our playing group, if we don't make finals, that's the way it is, but can we start the ladder at 0 now, and let's see if we can finish top 6 in the last 6 rounds. So we got to the last round, and it actually turned out a few teams above lost a few games. So we needed Sydney to lose the last game, and we needed to win the last game. So we're up in Queensland, and Sydney decided to rest like 5 different players, including Buddy, and they played Richmond, who we needed to lose. So Richmond won by 3 points, and they finished 8th, and we won our game the next day, and we finished 9th by percentage. So horses cost me again.
We like that phone call. Well, what about when you're out of it, Horse? This is the other thing. So you've got to motivate the players, you've got to sell it to the rest of the coaching team, you've got to sell it to the supporting group. How honest are you with that? How do you do it in a way that maintains competitiveness? I mean, I reckon that would be a tricky conversation.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do it, Gaz. I mean, there was one year we did it with, you know, in 2020, once again, it was essentially building a bridge. You know, we're not going to play finals this year, but we want to play finals next year. Always selling the hope that you're on a path of finals football at some point. And that's, you know, in our sense, we were trying to make that point not too far down the track, and so we had a, you know, building the bridge analogy, which was just building the steps, the teams between now and the end of this season that sets us up for a good pre-season into next year to back to finals football. So that's a really important element, and the other important element, probably the most important element, is have your key pillars all aligned on that. So your chair, your CEO, your football manager and your coach. And if everyone's aligned on that, no matter how drastic and how under pressure you feel at the time, you usually come out the okay way at the end of the day, and you start to sell the hope for the following season. That's really important for a few clubs at the moment.
We saw the results too of those teams that bounced in the space of 12 months. And then when you cooked, Simmo, not that I want to direct this to you necessarily, but when the Bombers are at this stage now and they've got injuries and they're struggling.
I'll take this one.
What are you selling here?
Well, when you're planning your footy trip at round 10, you know, you're probably cooked. And we were, unfortunately, it happens. You know, if you're in the industry long enough, you're going to go through a period of reset, and whether that's a coach, CEO, list manager, the players. I mean, North Melbourne went through it several years ago, and, you know, at least the acknowledgement that it's time is happened. And then that's when there's drastic change. So what you do with the playing group, that's probably the biggest challenge, I would have thought, Horse, where you're not selling hope, because hope is gone. You're selling the little wins and trying to stay united and connected as much as you can. And there's some clubs doing that now. Obviously, the teams at the bottom of the ladder who know their fate already, have known it for a long period of time. This is the period it gets really tough, when there's still 6 weeks to go, and what are we actually playing for? And some players can turn selfish, so you really lean on your trademark and your values across not only the team but the club as well. So it's an important leadership piece that I went through, and a lot of coaches go through when the hope is lost.